Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Ride Boundless Podcast. Before we get started, I would like to give a shout out to Matt Laidlaw once again. He's the one responsible for this adventure that I took. He got me into the RawHyde, and I got to meet Jim, and I finally did one of their classes. And this is going to be a very exciting episode. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to Ride Clean. That is the sponsor of this podcast. It's a simple and easy way of cleaning your motorcycle. It's an ultra premium polish wash and sealer. Simply shake, spray, and wipe, and your bike looks brand new. You'll get a mirror-like finish. Check them out at rideclean.co. Use promo code RBPodcast for, I think we raised it now to 25% off, plus free shipping, plus an extra 2-ounce bottle of Ride Clean. That's rideclean.co, promo code RBPodcast. Very interesting episode. It's a first for the Ride Boundless Podcast, and I know it's not going to be the last. Did something completely different. Shot over to RawHyde for the leadership program that they did out there, which was amazing. We talk about it on the podcast. But just to give you a quick rundown, it was a first, and what they do is from basically 8 to 12 noon, you're sitting in a business management leadership program. I mean, top notch. David Noor, he put it together, and the guy is brilliant, a genius. He talks about evaluating your company, how to pitch a company, how to buy a company, how to sell a company, what you should focus on, what you got. I mean, there's just too much information that he covered that words can't describe. It's very valuable. It was a success, and I know they're going to continue doing it. So check out rawhyde-adventures.com for their future schedules. Afterwards, we get an amazing gourmet lunch, and then afterwards we just ride bikes. We go off-roading and we go on roads, and it was an amazing experience to have 3 days of just learning how to operate and run a business and set new goals and writing your goals down, and then hanging out and then writing and then hanging out some more. It was a blast. What makes this episode so different is there was about 20 individuals at the place, and I actually got to sit down with every single one of them. I might have missed one or two, but I will catch up with them. I will find them. And I just went through a quick rundown of questions of who are you, where are you from, and how'd you get into motorcycles? And these stories they're amazing. They're really amazing. Hearing how I mean, there was Navy SEALs, there was police officers, people that own their own businesses, they own franchises, and it was such a beautiful thing to actually just hear everybody's story on their background and what was the turning point where they said, I'm going to jump on two wheels. So without delaying this anymore, let's just get started right now. Frankie, thank you for being here. How would you introduce yourself? What's your social media? And where are you from?
Frank LePain.
And closer to the mic. It's just better.
Yep. Thanks, Roberto. Avid bike rider. Started doing this stuff when I was as an adult. I knew how to ride bikes.
You didn't grow up with bikes?
They did, but I didn't have them. We were dirt poor. You know what I mean? So my dad couldn't afford to give me shit like that. But I had buddies that had them. So I learned how to ride by default. Yeah. But as a kid and as a teenager and even in my 20s, I didn't have any scratch for that kind of shit. So I was just working, trying to get by, that kind of crap. And as I got older, more mature, and the money was starting to come in, and I could actually sustain a mortgage and life. I was able to get my first bike, and I was so elated.
What was your first bike?
It was an 82 XS 850 Special, which is a Yamaha.
Okay.
So, growing up around my uncles, everybody had Harleys. I loved Harleys, but it wasn't within my my money reach. You know, they're expensive. I love them. I coveted them. I still do today. But I just didn't have the 50 grand to throw at some of these machines. I knew what they were worth. I know what guys put into their rides and shit like that. So
yeah. Considering all the customizations and all the builds.
It's crazy. So I got married, and you know, the money was there, but I wasn't gonna go spend 30 grand on a bike, you know, and then put 20 grand into it, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I was looking at, you know, like my uncles, like I said, I was going back to that. They all rode Harleys, and I was telling you earlier that, you know, I used to watch the Outlaws go down the road. They'd come right by our house, and that was
the one percenters.
Correct. And to me, these guys are fucking rock stars. You know what I mean? I swear to God, you know, because I grew up on that side of the tracks, right? So these people were like my idols. They were my rock stars. I wanted to be a fucking biker. You know, I really did. And I wanted to be a bad guy, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
Right, you know, so I glorified that whole lifestyle and stuff like that until I got into my 30s when I realized that it just wasn't happening for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you weren't in by then,
right,
it's like
right.
You're not going to start being a bad guy at 30.
Right, you know, and I've done some shit, and I've gotten into some troubles, there's no doubt. But after a while, it just, you know, I realized that I'm just not that guy. You know what I mean? And so, you know, and then I get my bike, I start riding, and I'm like, oh, look at me, you know, and I wanted more out of it. And I was in a position where I could buy my actual first bike. And then I started doing some research.
The bike you wanted.
The bike I wanted. And so I was talking to buddies and this and that. Of course, everybody wants me to get on a Harley because that's where my friends ride Harleys.
Yeah.
But there was just something about it that I'm like, yeah. But I really, I think, I'm not sure when, but I saw guys off-roading, and that appealed to me. You know, I can get on all the pavement I want, but I wanted to see more than just what everybody else is seeing.
So not your regular dirt bike guy, but you saw kind of like the adventure market.
Yeah, exactly. And so I started doing some research in it. And at first I was going to buy like a Yamaha Super T, which is a Tenere. And then I got other buddies that are like, no, you want to go with a BMW route. It's proven bike. It's been around forever. So this was going back 10 years.
Yeah.
And the Super T just basically came out. And, you know, they ran you know, if it breaks down, you know, nobody can fix it. They don't have parts available. You're going to be stranded, that kind of shit, right?
People forget how difficult when you had motorcycles back then, everything, even Harley, it was difficult to get parts and everything. But like the history of bikes was very hard to deal with.
Right.
But yeah, so they tell you not to get that, to get something else, the BMW.
Yeah, try and go somewhere else. Like, because if you're a week away from home, 2 weeks away from home, the last thing you don't want to be stranded somewhere and your bike's stuck somewhere. And now, you know what I mean? Like, so I decided to go check out the BMW dealership. And before I even left there, I had a bike, you know, and I still have that bike today. I've got 70,000 miles on it. I'm basically an adult motorcyclist. And the appeal, my wife and my buddies, you know, I got a friend, he was the one that turned me on to Jim Hyde and RawHyde here. And it was a good selling point to my wife that if I buy this bike, she was more worried that I was going to fucking kill myself, right? You know, what business do I have on a bike? I've never had one, that kind of thing, that kind of shit.
You didn't grow up with it.
Right. You know,
you
know how to ride it a little bit. Right. And even myself, I was a little nervous even when I got on the 850. It was like, ride like, the only thing I could remember is people telling me, ride like people are trying to kill you.
Yeah.
You know, so with that in mind.
Yeah, or that nobody sees you.
Right. So I heard about Jim Hyde, and I told my wife, I said, well, what if I take this off-road riding course and this and that, you know, just a refresher course and this and that. Meanwhile, I had no experience, you know, but, you know, I wasn't going to tell her that. So I ended up taking the course.
Now you're drunk here with all these girls and women. I'm kidding.
Right. So I took the course, you know, and fell in love, you know, I put on I'm a 10,000 mile a year guy in the riding season. I live in Michigan, so, you know, we get to ride from spring to fall. You know, so in that time I try to put on 10,000 miles, and I've been just about everywhere. You know what I mean? In North America.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I love it. You know, it's my second time back here at RawHyde to further advance my skills. You know, because I run into gnarly shit out there that I have no business being on, or I just don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Or you're by yourself. You know, that kind of shit. So most of the time I'm riding with a couple guys. You know, because then it just takes some of those X factors out. You know what I mean? So
No, I completely get it. Well, and then quickly, what's your longest ride?
I was on a bike for 18 days straight, anywhere from 10 to 14 hours a day, and riding that bike, no fatigue. And most times you can just keep going, but you got to stop, right? So, 18 days leaving Michigan, went to Alaska, came back down through British Columbia, and then rode to basically the top of the United States all the way back home. So
That's awesome.
Did a big loop. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's fucking awesome.
It was fucking epic, man. The shit I saw, you know, and the further away we got from people, the more relaxed you are and that kind of thing. And you're able to look around and spend some time on the bike, you know, riding no hands, taking photos and shit like that, and just, you know, really enjoying the time away, you know. And for me, it's like, it's just resetting the head. You know, I come back, I'm ready to get back at work. I'm ready to be and more dad stuff, you know, and more husband stuff, you know, and all that crap. You know, so it's for me, it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people.
For all of us.
Yeah, I got customers that when I tell them, because I'm a contractor and my schedule's my schedule, but some of these people, you know, like when you're on their job and you're like, hey, I'm going to start your job, but on Friday I'm taking off and I'll be gone for 2 weeks. And they, you know, and I'm like, and they're like, well, where are you going? I'm like, well, I'm going for a bike ride. And then, you know, and they give you they give you the look and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, if I don't do this, I ain't coming back. You know what I mean? Like kind of shit, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I tell them it's therapy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely therapy for a guy like me, you know, like,
Yeah,
so.
some people drink and smoke. Some
Right.
people just ride bikes and drink and smoke.
Right.
But
Right. And that was the other thing, you know, I'm a non-drinker. So, you know, 20 years sobriety. And that was the other draw.
Congrats on that.
Thanks. You know, like I want to ride. I don't want to just go from one bar to the next bar to the next bar.
I guarantee you, if you would have continued, you would never be able to afford your bike.
Right.
Or
Right.
you wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah, Roberto and I have talked, folks, that I've told him a little bit about my past. And yeah, I would have never been able to afford the shit that I do today, you know, if I had not.
Cool. Frankie, I'm going to cut it right there. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
And let's enjoy it. We're still here,
Thanks, brother.
so let's enjoy it.
I appreciate it.
Hey, my name is Steve Kirsch. I've been riding about 35 years.
Is
I
that
started
it?
at 17.
35 years.
The way I got into it was my best friend and I wanted a motorcycle. My parents said absolutely.
How old?
17 and
17 and a
a
half.
Roughly in the 17 era.
Yeah.
And we both wanted one. And my folks said, no, you're not getting one of those things. There's no way you're going near that. His mom was divorced, and she wanted to make some points with him. So she let us keep it in her garage.
Nice.
And we taught each other how to ride a CB 750, 72 CB 750 in his backyard in the grass. I'm surprised I'm still alive.
Yeah.
It was a crazy start to the whole thing.
Isn't it how crazy how people used to ride motorcycles back then with the without the safety features, ABS,
we didn't wear a
track, nothing. Like it just
Nothing. No.
like it was just so fucking dangerous in every aspect possible.
So I'm going to skip forward for a second because you raised an excellent point. I've been a teacher for over 20 years of motorcycle education.
Oh, very nice.
And all of us that are in that era will go back and go, yeah, I wore a London fog leather jacket because it looked damn cool.
Right.
I went down in it. It would have been nothing different than a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I didn't wear a helmet because I didn't need one.
And it wasn't cool.
And when I grew up in Illinois, there was no helmet law. So
Right.
there was not even education on it. So when I started teaching myself, I was in shorts and a T-shirt and gym shoes in a backyard on a 750cc Super Sport riding in grass.
Right.
So I really, your point is that generally speaking, most of us don't do things for the wrong reasons. They do things generally because most of us motorcyclists, I should say, don't do things for the wrong reasons, do them because we don't know enough to make the right choice.
Yeah.
And that's why I got into the business of teaching.
That's awesome. And now how long have you been teaching?
About 20 years.
So at the 17 and a half age, you got into motorcycles. From there, you survived, and you're like, fuck, I can't believe I survived. I better teach people to help them prevent accidents.
Oh, no, it's not that intelligent. No. I was going to school in Missouri in the mid-'80s, and I got a 100-plus mile-an-hour speeding ticket in northern Missouri, border of southern Illinois, northern Missouri. And the state trooper that pulled me over, his name was Bob, said, well, you're going to pay a fine, but I've got an option for you. I want you to take this certification class because you don't have M certification on your license.
Right.
But you were riding so well that I think that I want to try to build you into something else. And I laughed at him and said, I'm going to pay a fine, but you're not going to take my bike. What do you need me to do? You're going to go take a 2-day class. Oh, sure. No problem. Yeah. Boss, I'm all for it. And he sent me to Pat and Pete Mortison, husband and wives, rode matching Harleys with the fringe on their chaps and on the bike type deal.
Awesome.
And the two of them taught me, at that time was called the RSS curriculum for motorcycle training. And it was a long class. It was just over 2 days, basically. And the way the two of them passionately taught the class and were in love with each other and really liked each other and loved their life of riding, they sat down with me after the class and they said, we think you'd make a great teacher. And I said, do you know why I'm here? And they laughed and said, yeah, we know Bob. That's how we get a lot of our students.
Right.
And I said,
Bob, yeah.
So you know I'm a screwball that was doing way too much speed. What the heck do you think I should be teaching anybody about? And they said, well, first and foremost, you've got a range of experience now. You've seen the right way to do things. We've taught you some really smart things. You paid attention to them. You passed the course very well. And you've played with the other side of life. Wouldn't it be great for you to share your message with others? That's how I was taught to become a teacher. It wasn't my inspiration. It wasn't me saying I should do this. It was them showing me that I could do this.
So it was Bob.
Yeah. Bob.
It all started with Bob.
Bob, the state trooper.
Well, thank you, Bob. We appreciate it. And one more question. What do you think of the whole experience here?
I think that this is probably...
I'm sorry, first time or no?
Yes.
Yes. Mine too.
When I got into teaching about 20 years ago, I made the decision that every year I get a new certification so that I could stay fresh to teach others.
Right.
So I literally, over 20 years, achieved 28 teaching certifications. So I have all kinds of different experiences in all kinds of different courses, and I'm certified actively right now in 26 different teaching curricula. And in the course of doing all that, I never got to RawHyde. And it wasn't because I didn't want to. It was, one, financial, they're expensive, and two, just not the right timing.
Yeah.
When I saw this model of this come up with the business relationship to the motorcycle education opportunity of having a blast of just riding and talking business, I couldn't resist it, and I wrote the check. Excuse me. And I'm over the moon impressed with what Jim has created here.
Yeah.
It's, his staff and everyone you talk to, unbelievably polite, unbelievably professional, always looking for what you need, not what they want.
It's interesting because we're here to learn also about the what do they call it? The leadership program.
Yeah.
And everything Dave's teaching, it's amazing how much of that applies to what Jim has already executed.
Yeah.
Which is mind-boggling. That's all I kept thinking about.
It's really impressive. And Jim, today, he sensed, when we were out there towards the end of the day, he sensed that a few of us wanted to go a little faster. And he took us down the route just that way.
Yeah.
And, we do that in our training. But it was really neat to be the student.
Yeah.
And have the coach see it and
go,
let's go, and take us off. And it's just, I'm now budgeting what the next trip is already, and I'm not even halfway through this one.
And you're not even halfway done.
Yeah, no, I'm ready to spend money with them for a very long time to come. They're fantastic.
I had a great conversation. Listen to the last podcast I did with Jim. I told him, let's figure out a subscription option, and everybody can benefit from this. So hopefully We'll see something like that.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Peace.
My name is Walt Fulton. I live in Orange County, California. I've been involved in motorcycling my entire life. My father was in motorcycling, He was prominent and top district manager for Triumph Corporation out of Baltimore for many years. From there, in 1959, he went to American Honda, brought Honda motorcycles in the country, and in '64 he brought.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, and in 1964 he brought Suzuki into the country. He was one of the 7 Caucasian management team behind both Honda and Suzuki. So I basically have been riding my entire life, one way or another.
You were born into it.
Well, I was, even before I was born, I was riding with my mother. Yeah, it was something that was just, as soon as I was old enough to realize what was going on and what I wanted to do, it was very simple to make a choice. I wanted to ride motorcycles.
Yeah.
And consequently, I went on to become a factory supported rider with U.S. Suzuki, a factory supported rider with Kawasaki Motors Corporation USA, and ultimately Harley Davidson, where I spent 1967 to 1971 riding for them. So motorcycling has been really good to me.
You were able to make a career out of it. You were
well,
able to make a living out of it.
I was not only able to make a career out of it, motorcycling itself per se, but after I quit racing, I went to work for several different magazines. Cycle Guide magazine to begin with, Cycle World magazine, Motorcyclist magazine, and ultimately Motorcycle Consumer News, who I worked with for, 8 or 10 years, as doing all the performance testing and some product reviews and road tests. So, and then I was involved in crash investigation and reconstruction for 28 years.
Shit, you did it all.
Yeah, primarily involving motorcycles, but bicycles, buses, trucks, cars.
All of it.
Yeah. Heavy moving equipment, portable drilling rigs and things like that. So that was 28 years of my life. And then I went to work for Kawasaki Motors Corporation as a technical person in the legal department, which I was there for 10 years, and then moved from legal to quality assurance, where I was in compliance, and that's it in a nutshell. I mean,
and we're gonna get together again soon, and we'll have a full detail
Excellent.
everything.
Yeah.
And then last question: what do you think of the whole program here? Is it your first time, or you've been here multiple times?
No, actually, this is my first time at RawHyde, and I've wanted to go for a number of years, and it's a real treat to be here. Not only with the business meeting, but I'm looking. I love the BMW.
Yeah.
The 1250, and
It's an amazing machine.
I actually have. I was involved in the BMW Battle of the Legends in '95 to '97, and that's when I decided I could like one of these. So I ended up with one R1100 RS. Then I got two, a second one, and then now I have 3 of them in my garage. So I'm somewhat partial to BMW, and it's a real treat to ride the new, latest, greatest 1250. And
it's an amazing machine.
Yeah, it is. So I'm really looking forward to giving it a try in off-road in the dirt.
And may I ask, with all due respect, you don't have to answer, how old are you?
I don't mind answering that at all. I'm 73.
73. Right now, I was right behind you. You were hauling ass.
Yeah. Well,
I'm like, fuck. Well, it's killing it.
Yeah, I started riding when I was 7, so I've got a few years experience with it. I probably have. Well, I know I have at least a documented 1 million miles, and now I think I'm up to 1.5 million to somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million miles.
Well, you're a true two-wheel badass, and like I said, we'll be getting together soon and hearing all your stories.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Walt.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Tom Balch. I live in Santa Cruz. I'm a dad. I'm a grandpa. I love motorcycles. And I own a petroleum contracting business, but that's what I do to create means to do things I really enjoy doing. Being a dad, raising money, living life.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
What finances, you do certain things so you can live the life that you want to live.
Exactly. You know, I enjoy my work. I enjoy my customers. I enjoy getting to know my employees and building teams. I get a lot of joy and pleasure from that. That's an important piece of who I am. But the other things is, you know, what makes life rich, you know,
Right.
Being married to a woman you love, having kids that you just get so much joy watching them grow up, and walking your girls down the aisle and they get married to men you like.
Yeah.
And then having a son go off to college and doing well in school. Those things all bring a lot of joy. And then as you get older, you know, grandkids start showing up and you go, man, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And that's all awesome stuff. But, you know, working, living life, having a woman you love, it's all good stuff.
It's all excellent stuff. And then quickly, how'd you get into motorcycles?
Well, I to be honest, it's probably DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember in high school, I always wanted a bike. Every time I brought it up, it was like, no, can't have a bike. Too dangerous. And all right, you know, it's fine. There were other things keep me busy. I cut school, get a lot of surfing and skiing in. But graduated from high school, moved to Santa Cruz to get some surfing in, bought a bike right away. And I don't think it was a Honda 350.
Yeah.
Didn't have a license, but I did have a helmet. And I would just ride that bike.
It wasn't legal then, right? You just had it because you wanted it, right?
I wanted it. And
Because I think it got legal in California with like 90s or something.
I mean, the helmet thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was smart to wear a helmet.
Yeah. You're a smart guy.
Yeah, well, some people may disagree with that. Anyway, so I'd ride this bike around Santa Cruz, up the mountains. You know, I met a girl at college, and she would jump on the bike. We'd ride together. And then one of my roommates borrowed the bike without asking it. He totaled it.
Fuck.
So I was into the bike thing. Got married, started some businesses, bought a house, started having kids. Still was surfing, but the motorcycle thing kind of just drifted away. And then I don't know, I was at a buddy's 40th birthday party. He comes up to me and he says he bought a Harley. And he's talking about bikes and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, dude, man, I think that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I really didn't have a vision of myself on a Harley Cruiser. But, you know, I was familiar with adventure riding and camping and trail riding. I thought that would be awesome. And I told my wife to convince her that this was going to be okay. I took the motorcycle safety training class, and I actually got a license. I was legal.
Right.
And ended up buying a used Suzuki V-Strom 650. Wish I kept that bike. Thought I'd only drive it occasionally. Next thing I know, I'm commuting in the bike. I put 16,000 miles in the bike the first year I had it.
Nice.
Sold it for the same price I paid for it. Bought a
Score.
Yeah, and then I turned on and bought a 2007 Triumph Tiger 1050.
Great bike.
Great bike. Put 100,000 miles on that.
Holy shit. What was your longest ride on? What was your longest one ride on that?
Oh, let's see. My longest ride is I went out to North Rim of the Grand Canyon, Zion National, up to my brother's ranch in Idaho. Left his ranch in Idaho and drove straight back to Santa Cruz without stopping one day.
Fuck. In one day.
One day.
How many miles was that?
Oh, man. It's probably like 800 miles.
Holy shit.
And next day I was back on the bike riding it to work. But stepping back, I had this Honda 350. My dad comes over and visits me in Santa Cruz, gets on the bike. You know, he grew up in a ranch in Idaho, familiar with horses and stuff. And he fought in the South Pacific during World War II and ended up in Japan. And after the war, he bought a bike from the PMX store, the store that they have available for military guys. He had one of the very first civilian-made Harleys shipped to him in Japan. My dad in Japan. So in 1940, right after the war. So you look at 1946-ish. My dad has this Harley in Japan, and he's just loving life in Japan. He's had a boat built, did a lot of fishing, volleyball, riding the motorcycle, snow skiing. Life was good.
Yeah.
Until the Korean War started.
Right.
But yeah, he had his bike. He had no shirt, no shoes, no gloves, and he's racing his boss back from the beach to the base. And next thing he knows, he's in his boss's Jeep. And the boss goes, "Will, you're bleeding all over my Jeep." And he spends like the next few weeks in the base hospital. He said, "I wake up, I'm in my birthday suit, I'm surrounded by nurses pulling sand and gravel with tweezers out of me." Oof. So that's why he didn't want me to have a bike in high school. Yeah. And I told my dad after he told me that story, he says, "Hey, Dad, I'll promise you I'll always wear my gear. Yeah. I ain't riding a bike with no shoes, no shirt. I'll wear my gear."
And then real quick, last thing, what do you think? Is this your first time here?
No, I did the intro to riding with RawHyde. Absolutely amazing experience. Gained a lot of confidence on the bike in the dirt. I was really confident on the street. I commute on the bike, but I always felt a little like, how am I going to handle this bike on the dirt and the sand and the mud? And a great experience. Jim just runs a great operation here.
It's awesome.
I came back a couple of adventure days. Yeah. And, once I can fit into my schedule, I'd love to come back and do like the next step, which is kind of like the next level of, besides, if you don't practice these skills, it was like maybe 2016 I was here. Yeah. And if you don't practice these skills, you lose it.
What would you recommend, like every other year or once a year?
Well, I'd recommend anybody that owns a BMW or any adventure bike, and they want to get confidence.
Right, to do the class. But once they do it, what would you recommend for them to do it? Like every other year? Once a year, once every 5 years.
It depends on their
skill level.
On their skill level, it depends on their economic situation, confidence. But and frankly, it's just a fun thing to do. Yeah. You meet some really cool people. You get lots of great food,
and booze,
and just good fellowship. So it's like every couple of years, why not?
Yeah.
Or do the adventure days, man. It's a low entry point. And you get the same kind of a dynamic happening.
Well, fucking right on, Tom. Thank you so much. Cheers, brother.
All right. Cheers, man.
We'll be talking soon.
All right.
Hey, my name's Andrew Vanos, originally from Australia. And how I got into motorcycles.
What do you do, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm actually in the health insurance business.
Nice.
And
you sell and selling and being in the industry, you're selling policies and
correct. So nice. I deal with individuals, and then I specialize in group coverage.
Very nice.
So,
and what part of Australia?
From Sydney.
Sydney.
Yep.
Nice. Foster's. I'm kidding.
Don't ever say that.
I'm kidding.
So, the way I got involved with motorcycles is when I was in high school. My friend had a farm.
Nice. And back home
in Australia, and I used to hunt kangaroos on motorcycles.
Holy shit! How does that work? Like, is it two of you on the bike and you guys are hunting? No. Each one.
It was a little Honda. What were they? The postie bikes.
Right.
So like Honda 90s back then, or 110s.
Like one,
whatever they were.
One, yeah.
Yeah. So we were strapped with a rifle on our backs, riding along. And once you saw the kangaroos, you jumped off the bike, didn't care where it went, pull the rifle off your back, aimed it, start culling numbers.
And fuck, man, that's crazy. Now, are you killing kangaroos because there's a kangaroo problem in Australia, like we have a deer problem, or it was just fun, or what's
No, this was work.
It was work.
So in Australia, when there's drought,
right,
kangaroos compete with the cattle, and you have to go cull the numbers. We have over 400 million kangaroos, I think.
Yeah. No, that's so. It's to control the population then.
Correct. And I think
like what they do with like hogs and pigs and stuff in Texas, like they have to kill so many, and they don't even pick them up and eat them because they have to kill so many. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. No, we would send trucks afterward, pick them up because send them to the knacker and turn them into dog food.
Turn them into dog food.
Yeah. But I think we're the only nation on earth that shoots its national animal.
Yeah, I think
so it's kind of weird, but it's necessary.
Right.
It's necessary, especially when the numbers get out of control.
Right. So you were doing motorcycles, hunting, shooting. Now you ended up buying a bike. Was that your personal bike or that was your work bike?
No, that was my summer job.
Right.
So.
And I'm sorry, how old are you?
I'm 53 now.
But when you were doing that?
15, 16.
Fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a crazy job.
But it was great.
Yeah.
But there's other days.
I would love it, but today people be like 15 years old riding a motorcycle and shooting kangaroos. That's so terrible, but that's awesome.
Well, here's the irony of it all. Even though that was the job, there's days we get up at dawn, ride along just to go for a ride. The same kangaroos would be hopping next to us. And you take the moment to actually enjoy them. So it was a job.
Do people, and I want to know how you continue this motorcycle, but this is so interesting to me. Do you eat, like, two questions. Do they make any kind of leathers out of kangaroo skin or fur or anything? And do people eat kangaroos? Are they good or not really? That's why it's dog food.
No. Back in the day, we didn't eat kangaroos until I realized that it is some of the cleanest meat you can eat.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah. And it's extremely lean. It's really not very gamey, so you have to cook it very rare. And chutney does a great job with it as well. And now in Australia, it's actually so expensive to eat kangaroo.
Oh, hilarious.
Yeah.
You know what this reminds me of? Because back in the days, the crabs and lobsters were considered the cockroaches of the sea.
Yep.
And only the poor would eat it. And the rich would be like, how disgusting.
Yeah.
And then they realized how delicious it is. And now it's like one of the most expensive things. And same thing with bone broth.
Yep.
Bone broth, only the poor would eat the bone broth. The rich would eat these nice steaks in Europe and, throw out the bones. And the poor would make these bone broths. And that's the healthiest part. So it's kind of the same thing, huh?
Yeah. Yep. It's an interesting evolution. And where I think kangaroos, as far as eating them goes and getting some notoriety, there was a while back, I think it was in the 80s, where Australia got busted for shipping kangaroo meat in place of beef for Jack in the Box.
Wow.
Yeah.
What year?
I think it was in the early 80s.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Jack in the Box had no idea.
I have
Nobody
no
knew.
idea the story about it, but anyway, it came out. It was this big
Andrew,
controversial
people are going to
thing.
Google this.
I think, it's
happened.
It's there. It happened. I'm not making this up.
Yeah.
But the irony is, because nobody had really eaten kangaroos before, it wasn't a big deal back then.
Right.
The irony is that it's some of the best meat you can eat.
I can't. I want to try it one day. I got to go to Australia and I want to try it.
Kangaroo stroganoff.
So let's I'll look that up. I'll look up for the recipes. So motorcycles.
Yes.
So you after that you grew up. That was a business. That was your summer job. What do you ride now? And how long have you been riding? Your overall experience.
Well, I've been riding since I was around 15. Always wanted to get into adventure riding.
Yeah.
And I remember even as a kid when I was in Europe with my parents, I'd look at those Alpinas, I think they're called. Just the bikes just looked amazing to me.
Yeah.
And I just wanted the opportunity to do it. And finally, got back here. I rode throughout college, but it was just more road bikes. And the opportunity showed up to get an adventure bike. And was introduced to RawHyde, started doing some research, and it seemed like the right place to go. It's a different
First
skill set.
time? No.
I'm sorry?
Is it the first time in RawHyde?
Well,
Or you had been here before?
I hadn't been here before.
Oh, so it's first time. Yeah.
So the first thing I ever did was buy a bike
Right.
from RawHyde.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And what made that fun, I was telling Jim a little bit earlier tonight, when I went to pick up my bike, I didn't want to wait for it to come back to California, so I flew to Colorado to pick it up. Well, I'd never ridden an adventure bike before, and these things are pretty big.
Yeah.
And it was a GSA. So Jim had it set up at his facility right next to the big staging station he has, but it was in the gravel. And as I was getting ready to leave, all the new students were showing up, and I'd never ridden one of these things before, and I had to drive it through the gravel. And I'm thinking, please don't fall, please don't fall. Didn't fall.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean suspense.
Yeah, but I've gotten pretty used to falling.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens, of course. I mean, I've dropped my bike, especially when I went to Gorman. I dropped my bike a few times. It's just normal.
Yeah.
And people, actually, the first time I ran into other fellow adventurers, they're like, "Have you dropped it yet?" And I was like, "Nope." And they're like, "Oh, you haven't even started then," because it's what they expect. And then what do you think of this whole program? What do you think of this whole weekend? Oops.
Well, look, I think the program, what RawHyde has done, how they, just from their instructors, the systems they have in place, the way they develop the riders from the nomenclature of the bikes,
right,
to the basics. It's everything builds on itself.
Yeah.
To get you to a proficient level. And what's really interesting, and this is where it takes a little bit of patience to wrap your mind around things, everything's done really slowly.
Yeah.
It teaches you the control. It teaches you a lot of things. But the other thing that they get through your mind and your head is the mindset of riding.
Right.
And we were talking about falling. It's not an issue of being embarrassed when you fall. It happens.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that you learn to embrace is not so much the falling, but to be able to analyze why you fell.
It's a good point.
And then I think ultimately it makes you a better driver. And and the other thing in the reality is this: it's a diminishable skill. So if you don't practice it, the classes are great, but you have to get out there and do it. And do it again and again, and then you get better. But you're off your bike a month, you get rusty.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but there's times that I'll just ride my Harley, and it'll be like 2-3 weeks that I ride my Harley, and when I get back on the adventure bike, it's a whole nother bike again.
Yep.
And then I'll be riding that for 2-3 weeks, and I got that down like a professional, and my huge bags and my big, engine cage, and I cut through traffic like crazy, and people are like, "Fuck, you cut through traffic on that?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." And then I get back on the Harley, and it's like, it's just so weird. You got to continuously practice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Is there anything else you want to add? Any safety tips or anything you personally learned, or?
Well, listen, you're always learning.
Every day.
And the benefit that I've found with adventure riding is the actual community and the value that community brings, because it's pure. You
Right.
meet people from all different aspects of life, different professions.
Right.
And you've got something in common. However, it's almost like an innocence, and nobody has anything to prove, which makes the community really, really super valuable. But the one thing I would say, you cannot underestimate the value of the training.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Well, my name is Rod Mirabent. I am originally from Mexico City. I've been in the U.S. since 2003 now, so a couple of years.
Nice.
I grew up in Mexico City, and my dad got us a Carabella 50cc, and this was when I was probably 4 years old. And he just got us a bike. I'm the youngest of...
So your father initiated the whole motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
That's so cool. At
Yeah.
4 years old.
Yes.
That's awesome.
But the thing is that I'm the youngest of... I have two older brothers, and I was 4, and my oldest brother, he's 8 years older than me.
Yeah.
And Danny, who's here with me, he's 6 years older than me. So he was 10, I was 4. So my dad, I just thought that I could ride with the big boys, and it was a 50cc. And, I just immediately got on that bike, and I crashed directly to the wall. And that was my first motorcycle experience, and I loved it. And
after even crashing and everything?
Yes, of course. I just, got up, hopped on the bike again, and just went. So that was it. I mean, that made it for me. I've been riding for many years now, but I've gotten my best instruction here at RawHyde, actually.
How many times have you been at RawHyde?
This is my 3rd time,
And how many, in what time? 1 year, 3 years, 5 years?
First time I came here was in 2019. Then I came back October 2020. And this is my third time, but this is different.
This is different. This is interesting, huh?
It is different, yeah.
Yeah, because this is the leadership program, so it's kind of like an educational business. What do you think of it?
I'm liking it pretty much. To be honest, my brother Danny called me in December, and I was, during the Christmas, holidays.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going back to RawHyde on January 27th or something.
29.
29th. So I said, I'm in. But I didn't know it was a leadership program. I thought we were just going to be riding bikes.
Right.
And then so I just joined in, call and sign up. And then I got the, the email saying, oh, this is going to be a leadership program. And I'm like, interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm liking it pretty much. I mean.
Is there a lot you can apply to your business, you think,
course.
or what you do?
Yes.
What do you do?
I'm in energy efficiency.
Energy efficiency.
So, yeah, we do.
In the U.S.?
No, mostly Europe, Mexico, and Latin America.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
So I live here, but most of my business in that area, it's Mexico and Chile. We do a bunch of projects in Spain, Netherlands, stuff like that.
Wow. And the whole family does the same thing, right?
No. Actually, no.
Well, the brothers or?
No. My brother, Danny, he's in mining. My other brother.
Canada.
In Canada, yes. My other brother, he has his own businesses, and this is just me. I have 2 partners on the energy efficiency company. So, yeah. So
and then last question, just between you and me.
Yeah.
Who's the best rider between the brothers?
Of course, me. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Gracias, hermano.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dan Mirabent. I'm from Kelowna, British Columbia in Canada. I'm here at Adventure Riding with a RawHyde team.
With RawHyde team. How'd you get into motorcycles?
Well, I always been passionate about motorcycles. I started with street bikes, and then I started a little bit of a track racing, and then my brother Rod introduced me to adventure riding, and then the first time I tried it, I got hooked up, and then slowly, it was over. I sold my Harleys, sold my street bikes, my track bikes.
What was your first bike?
My first bike was a CBR 900 Fireblade.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And then you had a Harley too?
Oh, yeah. I had Harleys. I was die-hard Harley.
What kind of Harley?
My last Harley was a Street Glide CBO.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a Street Glide, the special.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right now I'm trying to fix up.
Yeah, no, I rode with my wife, my CBO from Canada all the way down to Hollywood. We went to this ride that was called the Boot Ride. It was about 8 years ago with all the Sons of Anarchy and all that stuff. So we went all the way from Canada to Los Angeles, rode with those guys.
That's so
and then
cool.
rode back.
How long was that riding?
It was our 10th wedding anniversary. So
congratulations.
Yeah, well, that was 10 years ago.
That was 20 now.
Yeah, but it took us. We took 2 weeks. 2 weeks off, just riding.
Just riding and enjoying it.
Yeah, that was great.
That's awesome. And then the program. Have you done the program before here?
Yeah, so this is my 3rd time here at RawHyde. I already did I started with the intro, then I did the intro plus, and I just saw the leadership thing, and and
you said, fuck it.
Yeah, let's do it.
The weekend.
I need something to do in January, so.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, there's no riding in Canada right now, so it was a good excuse to come and ride bikes.
And the first time you came was 2000?
No, the first time I came to RawHyde was last October 2020.
Last October 2020.
Yeah, and then I came back in November 2020, and now in January. And then
so you just been back to back to back to back.
I'm already booked
so
for.
You love it?
Oh, I love it. I'm already booked for Colorado, so this year. So yeah.
That's awesome. So they should start a referral program, huh?
Yeah.
Jim, start a referral program.
They should, but the money will go to my brother Rod, who's the guy to introduce me here too, right?
That's true.
Yeah, but I brought my one of my colleagues and very good friend Rafa with me this time, so it was also really good. So maybe I get that referral program.
That's right. You would get that one.
Yeah.
And then all your brothers ride, right?
Well, it's 3 brothers, and we all ride. my older brother, he sticked up with the Harleys, and but myself and brother, we're more into the adventure bikes now.
Yeah, because your other brother's probably got a Harley tattoo or something, and he can't switch.
He has no tattoos.
No tattoos.
Yeah, I'm the only one of my brothers with tattoos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You don't have a Harley tattoo, do you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Of the brothers, who's the best rider? This is between you and me, by the way.
I think it's Rod. Yeah.
You think it's Ron?
Yeah, he's very confident.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, hermano.
No, thank you. Have a great meeting you, by the way. It was, and good riding, man. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You too.
Thanks.
Thank you, brother.
My name is Greg Stevens. I currently am the chief of police in Rockport, Texas.
Nice.
I've been there for about a year and a half, coming up on 2 years. I retired as the chief of police in Lubbock, Texas. So I retired from a larger city, about 450 officers in Lubbock, where I'd been there for almost 27 years. And took the job in Rockport. Rockport's down on the coast, around outside Corpus Christi. So I had this idea to go down to live on the beach. And believe it or not, I'm looking at what's going to be next already. But so I've been in police work actually for a little over 3 decades.
Holy shit. Is it easier in a smaller town or in a bigger town?
You know, it's just a different, easier, harder. It's just a different environment. That's all it is. There's more specialization in a big city. So you can begin to specialize in if you like doing traffic accident investigations, or you want to be a homicide detective, or maybe you like forensics or something. Where in a small town, you kind of have to do everything. There's less of it, but you have to do all of it. You have to be good at just about everything.
No, that's easy.
Smaller scale.
That's a great way of explaining it. And,
absolutely.
And how you would have to deal with it.
Yeah, and I did 4 years as a military police officer before going to Lubbock. So I went into the military a month after high school, and so I got a long history of it, and stayed in the reserves after I did my active duty time, and retired as a Navy intelligence officer. And so my philosophy is to retire early and often.
Yeah, and often. Your parents were police or military?
My dad. So I grew up in Amarillo, Texas, up in the Texas Panhandle. And my dad was an Amarillo police officer for 34 years. Yeah. And so that's all I ever really contemplated doing. That was where I was gonna go. And when I went into the military in 1988, I went in with just the idea to do my 4 years and then get out. And I wanted to go back and be an Amarillo policeman, kind of follow my dad's footsteps. But they didn't allow any kind of nepotism, so I couldn't even apply. And so so I couldn't go home. So I sort of took the shotgun approach. The state police weren't hiring; they had a hiring freeze at that time. So I took the shotgun approach across the state, and I got on with Lubbock, Texas, in 1992, and I did a full career. Did a lot of patrol work, and then all my detective time was in narcotics, doing undercover work and vice type crimes.
Which in Texas is never ending.
And never ending, right?
Yeah, that was by choice.
Yeah, that's what I went into, and then started promoting up. And again, I stayed in the reserves and did a full career in the Navy, and got recalled after the attacks in 2001, and got back home in 2002, and decided that I wanted to make more out of that career. So I finished college and got education and got a commission in the Navy, and went into naval intelligence, and did that for about 10 years.
Holy shit. So your whole life, military, police, government, that's it. So you've never been outside of government?
No, so that's coming to this still here. So I, we introduced ourselves. I said, look, I've been working for the government since a month after high school. And pretty soon I'm going to look at transitioning out into the private sector. And I've got a little consulting company that I started. Nice. And we've got some rental properties, things like that. But I'm looking forward to, at some point, doing consulting about law enforcement and about, ways that we can... I want to say maybe improve law enforcement. There's this, I don't like the whole reimagine thing. I think that we're getting a little carried away with that, but there's certainly things that we can do better when it comes to accountability and making some great improvements in law enforcement.
So more training.
Well, we get lost in the kind of training that everybody kind of knee jerks into, and where I believe that we really need to focus leadership training is in middle management at that first line supervisors and the captains and the lieutenants. If you think about this, things tend to break in the middle. If you think of a stick, and that's I steal that from Simon Sinek. If you're a follower of Simon Sinek, he emphasizes that. Familiar, yeah. Well, we when there's these big eruptions out in our society, we always focus on the officer that we see, doing some terrible thing.
Like the start and the end, never.
Well, we focus on that individual officer, and then of course police chiefs are, we demand their resignation or they're fired, they run off, and the tenure for a police chief nowadays is anywhere from 2 to 4 years, and that's it. You don't have a long-serving police chief, so it's hard to set the culture in an agency when you don't have someone serving for a long time at the top. And we focus at these two ends when really things tend to break in the middle. And we need to demand more out of the middle management, out of the commanders and out of the first line supervisors. And that's where that accountability needs to go. And so I'm really looking towards trying to improve the leadership at those levels in law enforcement, because that's where we can make a real difference.
Right. It makes all the sense in the world, especially that you've been in it so long, you know exactly where to focus on. And that's kind of the thing. Nobody knows where to focus. All people are focusing on right now is blame. Hey, this person did that. This person did that. Where's the supervisor? Or,
And and we're having knee-jerk reactions, and people are coming up with ideas for training. And while I'm not against implicit bias training or cultural diversity training, those are good things. But I offer to you, when you see these things erupt, the officer that you see that's doing the bad thing, that officer's had a bunch of that kinds of training, but they're typically the kind of person that sits in the back of the classroom and rolls their eyes. Yeah. And the good, the 98+% officers or 99% officers, you could get, and I'm all for giving more of that kind of training. That's all good, but they're already not treating people badly. I mean, they're doing a good job right now. But again, I'm not against. We do more training with that, but we need to avoid the knee-jerk reactions and focus on things that'll make bring good added value and focus on accountability. And when we, the police, say that we hold ourselves to a higher standards, too often we don't. And we really need to do that. We need to mean it, and we need to follow through on that.
And what do you think of the statement, defund the police?
Well,
and you don't have to.
No. I got thoughts about that. So here's the thing. You can't treat it like a light switch. Like, we can't just flip off funding and expect things to get better. Right. Because we're still.
It makes no fucking sense.
That's right.
I agree with you, but I just want to hear.
So people are going to still call the police for the guy that's sitting naked on the park bench rubbing poop in his hair, right? Right. All right. So we have to deal with that. We have these issues of mental illness and of addiction in our society. So, so until you have something that's going to replace the police and the fact that people call 911 for everything right now, you can't just turn the funding off. So I'll give you my quick answer to that is, the police are ill-equipped and ill-trained to deal with the many, many issues that we go to that aren't people robbing banks or people stealing cars and things like that, right? So we're going to a ton of things that's not going to go away when you flip that funding switch off. Yeah, those calls are still going to come in. I'm an advocate of let's all talk about real solutions to this person who's dealing with mental illness or dealing with some addiction problem that's out in society. We need to fund some kind of response, some kind of resource to help these folks to deal with these things. And when we do that, naturally, the police won't need to deal with that anymore. So it's not defunding. We just won't need that resource, and I won't need that much funding. Yeah, and so I'm not going to be asking for more officers. I'm not going to be asking for more funding for those kinds of things, because it's already being handled, and I can go back to just doing what is more traditional police work and dealing with issues and problems in the community that are quality of life issues and things like that. But right now, so much of our time is spent dealing with these things that the police are not able to we're not really equipped for. And then what happens is, because these mental illness issues, these addiction issues, no one's really effectively dealing with that. Next thing you know, that guy sitting on the park bench has somehow gotten a sword and is running around swinging that, and then there's a big use of force deal, and the police end up killing this person. And now all of society's like, well, what happened? How'd this happen?
Guy. He was
this
just
is so
playing
horrible.
With a sword. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of us, the police, are looking at, well, somebody deal with him before it gets to that. Yeah. If someone would deal with that problem, with homelessness, with mental illness, with addictions, let's deal with that before it turns into a use of force situation.
Yeah.
there's your kind of your overarching answer. Now that's a very complex issue.
I have so many more questions. But I'm like, fuck, this is another.
I got a whole bunch. I got a lot of answers to a lot of questions.
We're gonna get together at somehow. We got to figure out a schedule, but we'll definitely do that.
Awesome.
How did you get into motorcycles?
So I was in the 4th grade, and my dad, I think he regretted later on, and he bought me a dirt bike because I got good grades one time. Right?
Yeah,
I had
one time.
One time I got good grades.
What a great father.
Yeah, and so I've been riding dirt, but it's kind of the typical story. I've been riding dirt bikes, ever since I was a kid.
There's nothing typical that I got grades one time and my father bought me a dirt bike. But continue.
Well, I had an older brother that was a straight A student, man. I mean, he's one time he got a 96 on a report card. He was very upset about it, right?
Yeah.
So my dad would come to me looking for the rest of the alphabet, and so he told me one time, because I really wanted a motorcycle. He goes, "All right, well, if you get however many A's," and I did. So he bought me a dirt bike, and that was it. And I was hooked.
And you never got an A ever again.
No. So the deal was off the table after that, right? So I've been riding dirt bikes as a kid growing up, and then Buddy and I, I was like 17 or so, and unbeknownst to my dad, he and I chipped in together, and we bought a Virago. Remember the old little street bike, and
I didn't have a picture. I never saw it ever.
Oh, it's great.
It was like
bike.
A straight out off road.
And we rode this street bike around. We traded and swapped it, and my dad found out, and that was done. And so I didn't lost my share of the motorcycle. And then I went in the military, and then later on I've owned just about every kind of street bike. I've even had a Goldwing at one time for I got a good deal on it, right?
Yeah, you're way too young.
Oh,
I'm just kidding, Goldwing listeners.
But I've had Harley Davidsons, 4 or 5 different Harley Davidsons, and I've had a couple of other brands, just assorted bikes, and didn't really do much on the dirt, in my adult life. And then one year, it had to be probably 2000. I don't remember when it was. Probably 2015 or 16. I had a Harley Davidson Street Glide. It was gorgeous, beautiful, orange bike. And a buddy and I are in Ouray, Colorado, and we'd taken the $1 Million Highway from Silverton up to Ouray, and I kept seeing these guys on adventure bikes, and they're leaving the highway, and I'm like, fuck, that looks so fun. They're going out and seeing stuff I can't see from the highway.
Yeah.
And they're all packed up with tents, and I'm like, that's cool.
I'm missing out on some
I'm missing some. Yep. And so I started researching it. I started looking at them, and I sold that Street Glide, and I was about to buy. I was actually looking at the KTMs, actually, and
like the Dukes and stuff.
Yeah. Well, no, the big adventure, the big one. So then I thought, take a 1200 cc bike or 1190 cc bike. I better get a class. And I'd been through the police motorcycle school, stuff like that. And I thought, yeah, but that's a big bike to take off road. And so I started researching that, and I found RawHyde. And I go, man, I'm gonna go take a class. And then I saw that they sold bikes, and came up, took a class, and I was hooked. And that was that. I've been drinking the RawHyde Kool-Aid since 2017, and bought a bike from them, and I've been on a ton of tours with them.
You're the second person that brought that up. I didn't even know they sold bikes.
Well, So I sold that 17 that I had, the 1200, and because I want a 1250, I'll buy another one through here. I'm like 98% sure that's what I'm going to do, and it's just a good deal. Because I've been to Baja with them. I've been to I've done the Continental Divide ride. I've done several of them, but it's a riding it off road's addictive. It really is.
Yeah. I just started this year, so I'm already starting the. Everywhere off-road.
Well,
I'm riding on sidewalks right now. If there's traffic, I'm like,
well, it's off-road. It's off-road.
You're right.
It's not on-road, it's off-road. If it's not on-road, it's off-road. That's how it works.
Great point. Let's see if that works one day.
when the police motorcycle officer, like, it's there's something about packing all the shit you need for 2, 3, 4 days and getting off the grid on your bike. There's something about it. It's addictive. It really is. I can't. I don't know. A lot of people don't get it. They don't understand that's okay. But and with these bikes here, it's a comfortable road bike too. I mean, I've ridden
super comfortable road bike.
Yeah, absolutely. I've ridden it, and every time I go on an off-road adventure, then the trip back on the highway is also an awesome ride. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Well, thank you for sharing. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your services.
Oh, you bet.
And,
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch soon.
All right.
Take
care, man. You bet.
You too. Bye. How'd you get into motorcycles?
So I've been riding since I was a kid.
And get closer to the mic. It's just...
Yep. So I've been riding since I was a kid. My father allowed me to get my first motorbike. It was an XR80 when I was about 8 years old. And we lived out on the farm, and I just started riding ever since then.
What state did you grow up?
Georgia.
Nice.
And it was rural Georgia, so I was able to ride straight from my house all day long. I'd come home from school, get on the motorbike, and take off and ride with my buddies all day. And the dirt bikes got bigger as I got older.
At 8 years old?
At 8 years old.
That's fucking awesome. You can't do that now.
No, I mean, down the streets, down the roads, everywhere, you just take off and go. And I eventually got a Harley when I got to high school. Somehow I talked my parents into letting me get a Harley, and I kept that through college. And after that, I kind of let it all go because life got busy, right? And I joined the military a lot of years later. And my best friend at the time, he was really into BMW motorcycles, and he had this old BMW motorcycle that he rode, all the way from the States down to Guatemala and back. And he used to tell me these great stories.
And what year?
That was probably 97 he did that.
Okay.
And he rode it across the top of Canada, too, from coast to coast. So anyway, he's getting ready to deploy to Afghanistan, and he bought this brand new F800. And he said, hey, I'm leaving next month to Afghanistan. Keep my bike for me and ride it every now and then.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful bike, and I hadn't ridden in years. So I got on this motorcycle and fell in love immediately because it's surfs, right? It just rides so well on the road. And I take this thing out into the California desert, and I bury it completely up to the axles.
Oh, shit.
Brand new bike. He had been on it. He had put literally, I think, 23 miles on it at the time. Buried up to the axles, and I sent him a photo in Afghanistan. I said, here's your bike. And it was out in Nakatia Wells or wherever it was. And that's all he got. And when I gave him his bike back, had completely bald tires on it. And I said, hey, thanks for the bike. I went out and bought a GS 1200 right after that.
Yeah.
And after that,
what a dick!
I brought a dick. I said, "Hey man," I said, "Hey, I'll buy you a brand new set of tires." Thanks. And he said, "Don't worry about it. It's an investment for a riding partner." I said, "All right, cool."
It's super dope.
So we decided we better learn how to ride these bikes better because they're big and it's not an XR80 anymore, right?
Yeah.
And we started doing some research, and we wound up here at RawHyde with Jim, and we both took the next step class right out of the gate, and did very well. It was a very small class. I think we had 5 guys in the class at the time. And we took off and loved it, and I've gone full blast ever since.
How many times have you been here now?
To RawHyde for a class, only that one time, but I've come back to Adventure Days. I've been to the expos. I keep in touch with Jim. I keep in touch with
I don't even, I'm so fresh at this. I don't even know the difference. Because you're the 4th or 5th person that said Adventure Days. What's the Adventure Days, the expos?
So the Adventure Days is a rally that Jim has put on here at the RawHyde Ranch, and I think he's done it in some other locations as well. But he'll bring in a lot of the vendors that sells the different parts.
Nice.
And
I didn't know.
During that time, he also puts on classes. So how to change a tire, how to travel internationally, you name it, anything to do with adventure riding, he kind of promotes that and brings in different people to speak towards that. And it's really good. It's a fascinating time. If you want to learn anything about adventure riding, come to Adventure Days and you'll learn something. Same with the expo. The expo, he has piggyback onto a larger Overland Expo event that has been happening for years, and now he has brought the motorcycle community into that. And it kind of changes locations. There's now an East and West Coast event each year, depending on when and where it is. It used to be up in Arizona on the West Coast, and it's since changed locations. I'm not sure where it's currently at. It's still in Arizona as far as I know. Yeah, that's it. So he's done a great job at marketing all this to different people.
Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right, brother.
See.
My name is Wim de Bruin. I'm Dutch. Came here in 1982 and started nursery business and did that for a number of years, and then started getting into motorcycling. And always had a passion for motorcycling. It's I think a great sport, a great stress reliever for me.
Yeah.
And it really has added an enormous amount of positivity to my life, especially the adventure motorcycling. I used to do street riding, and that became boring. And
what kind of street riding?
I had Ducati and street BMWs, and that's how. And Harley. I started off on a Harley Davidson, progressed to BMWs, and then I got a Ducati on the side of it. But what I found is that the off-road segment is way more interesting because you see a lot more, you discover a lot more, and it just is much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And also you can do camping with adventure motorcycling, which I like a lot.
You do a lot of camping on the bike? You go out?
Yes. Yeah. I like to do the BDRs. I've done all 10 of them on the West Coast. I've done the Continental Divide also. And I just really like the integration of camping and motorcycling. So
it's like a true freedom machine.
It is. You're completely off the grid. You're self-sufficient, and you plan for things going wrong, and it's just empowering.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How long overall have you been riding motorcycles now?
I've been riding motorcycles right now for 25 years. 25
years.
Yes.
That's amazing. And then currently, what do you ride right now? What's your bike?
Currently, I ride a KTM 790 Rally.
Nice.
Yes, and it's a great bike. I just got it a year ago, and
KTM's are cool as fuck. They're really cool bikes right now.
Yeah, I rode I've had 2 BMW F800s before that. Great bikes, but this is a step up from that.
What do you think of RawHyde? Is it your first time? You've been here multiple times?
I've been here multiple times. I think this is my 4th or 5th time or 6th time. I can't remember exactly, but took some classes over here. Took some classes at other
locations
as well, not just with RawHyde, but Jimmy Lewis and Gary LaPlante. He's a trials rider. And so I 3 different instructors, and I took classes with all 3 of them, and I think they all offer valuable instruction. I think taking classes, I think, is critical. Nobody's born with, or very few people are born with skills.
Or talents.
Or have the natural talent. I think most people need to learn how to ride, especially a big 500 pound or 500 pound plus adventure bike. And so I think it's money very well spent to get trained and learn how to ride these bikes, and then go out and practice it and do it, and not let those skills
and gear
perish.
Too.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
The right gear.
Yes, yeah, very important.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and we'll be seeing more of you.
I hope so.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Tim McQuarter. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and I've always enjoyed the outdoors and motorcycles. As far as that goes, first motorcycle experience was actually in San Diego. My cousin had one of those little Honda Cub 50 mini bikes, 50cc. I think I was maybe 3 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
That young?
And he took me for a ride.
This group, it gets younger and younger. It's so fucking crazy.
He took me for a ride, and I was hooked. So after that, it was all about 2 wheels. And so I've been riding, started with just little mopeds and mini bikes in grade school, moving into dirt bikes, and then sport bikes when I was in college and high school, and now it's adventure riding all over the world. So it's a lifetime commitment.
It is a lifetime commitment. Yeah. It's funny because right now when we were just like ripping through the curves and stuff, I forget how big the GSAs are. Mm-hmm. But then I see you on the GSA and I see how small it makes you look, and you're a big dude.
Yeah.
And I see how small it makes you look, and I'm like, fuck, I forget how big these bikes are, but they don't ride like that or in any way. They ride
they're
gentle.
Nicely balanced, good power band.
Yeah.
And then for me, it just fits who I am.
And you ride really good, by the way.
Oh,
everybody here has, but I was behind you, so
okay.
Yeah, you ride very well.
Thanks.
What do you ride at home now?
I have a GSA.
GSA 1250 or 1200?
Just a 1200.
Yeah,
but after
a
today,
1200, not just a 12.
After today, that 1250 is looking pretty sweet.
You feel the difference?
Yeah, I could. Throttle response was way different.
Yeah,
and you could get that front end up right away.
Right away.
Yeah.
And did you feel that? Did you use clutch the whole time?
Yeah,
for
still
first,
old
second,
school.
third. Oh, that goes away. I'm old school. Well, think about it. We're all old school.
Yeah.
There's not one person that's not old school. But when you get used to that, just first gear and then just shifting without gearing,
I have to try that tomorrow.
Yeah. So remember, when you're accelerating, you can go up, because sometimes if it's like, sometimes we have the habit of letting go of gas, grabbing clutch, and shifting gears kind of at the same time. You don't want to do that. You want to continuously accelerate and shift. And you could shift 2-3 times. You could shift do, and it responds. Dang. And same thing, if you want to downshift, you got to be coming down on the gears and stuff.
All right.
Once you get used to that, it's a mind blower.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of this whole experience? And is it your first time?
Yes, it's the first time at RawHyde, and
nice.
This whole Leadership Institute was really the draw, and the fact that I could come out of the snowy north and ride in California for a couple days was huge. So
remind us real quick, just for shits and giggles, coming from where you're at with snow and just.
Yeah.
During this season, I get it, just during the season, how bad or how would you compare where you're from in California? Like day and night, or?
As this time of year?
Yeah, this time of year.
This time of year, I mean, there's no way you could get out into the backcountry and ride. We've got to wait till optimistically the end of April before things finally start melting.
Yeah.
So this is just perfect. It gets you out of your stir crazy,
And it must be tough because you
energy, and you get down here and you can just rip. So
yeah,
it's fun.
And it must be frustrating because you had the whole COVID thing, and then to enter into winter, and now you're trapped because of the weather. Yeah. So this was freeing.
But, COVID. That's the beauty of what we do. We can get out in the backcountry and not see people and not be exposed to anything, and still.
Compared to LA, you're just. If shit hits the fan, you have no chance.
No, it is different down here at that time. So that's where we have the advantage.
Yeah. Touche. Thank you so much.
No, this is cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Take care.
You too.
My name is David Knorr. I'm an author. So I've got my 11th book coming out this year. I'm a senior leadership board advisor, and I'm an executive coach. And
which we love what you've been doing here, but sorry for interrupting.
No, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been Jim Hyde's vision to bring business professionals together to both learn in a leadership institute, but also get out and ride. So let's see how I got into motorcycle. Wife and kids bought me a 49cc scooter for Father's Day 10 years ago. My parents are retired college professors. Before that, I'd never been on a bike, didn't know anything about bikes. And I'm at an intersection, and this guy's on a Harley.
Yeah.
And this Harley's like, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I went home and I told my wife, honey, the man was on a hog, and here I am on a piglet. Please, my manlyhood is at stake.
How dare you?
Can we please upgrade? So I started doing some work with the Motorcycle Industry Council, and they were auctioning off a couple Hondas in their lobby. And I walk in, I'm like, what are these? And they're like, we're selling them for MSF.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how much? They're like, well, half of what you would pay retail. And
yeah.
I'm like, I'll take one.
Gears are whining. Yeah.
Right? And then I'm thinking, I don't know how to ride. I don't have any of the gear. And how am I going to tell my wife? They're like, we'll give you the gear. We'll teach you how to ride. The wife, you're on your own.
Yeah.
So that was the Honda DN01, which was the Badmobile thing a while back, but it was automatic.
Right. Oh, it was automatic.
It was automatic.
Holy shit.
I'm at a buddy's house, and there's this gorgeous black bike in back of his garage. I'm like, what's that? He said, it's a Ducati. I said, a what?
A what?
Yeah. He said, let me just turn it on. For your audience, it was a 999.
Nice.
With a dry clutch.
Oh, shit.
He turns it on.
That Ducati sound.
Right? Have you ever thought about selling it? He's like, no. I'm like, I'll take it. And here's a glimpse into the male psyche. I'm thinking, that's black. My DN01 is black. Maybe the wife won't notice.
Right.
Oh, she noticed. So that was my first bike, was a 999. I remember distinctly going 72 miles an hour in the second gear.
Oh, my God.
Turned that into a track bike. So fast forward 10 years, I've been to 14 different schools. I've bought and sold 22 bikes. At one point, I owned 7 bikes.
Wow.
So now I ride a Ducati Multistrada 1200S.
Very nice.
My son rides a Hypermotard 939.
Love them.
939 SP.
I was between those 2 bikes for so long.
Yeah. And I've got a daughter who rides a Triumph Street Triple.
So the whole family's riding.
The kids, I dragged the kids into, dirt bikes and MSF ever since they were little bit. Like I think when they're 5, 6 years old, their mom doesn't want anything to do with it. But yeah, the kids and I now ride together, and we've got Sennas in our helmets.
Isn't that fucking amazing?
Oh, it's unbelievable. We talk about boys, we talk about college, we talk about money, we talk about all jobs, all that on the rides.
At the same time, hey, be careful, your blinker's still on, and I got to go to the bathroom.
That's right.
Doesn't it feel like sometimes you're reading the person's mind, or you like it's mind-boggling?
But I got to tell you, as a dad, it is the coolest feeling ever to ride with your kids.
Yeah.
And you've seen them little bitty kind of grow up, and now they're on their own. They're no longer behind you, right?
Right.
They're on their own, and for them to learn the skills and develop a passion for riding, like you do, it's just incredibly rewarding, and it's so cool. So I was here at RawHyde with my 17-year-old son last weekend, and he rode intro, did the intro class. I did next step, and I think Jim Hyde said, in 20 some odd years, we're the 4th or 5th father-son that have come at the same time.
That's
it was
so
just
cool.
Such a cool experience.
And for Jim to tell you that, it even means more, because Jim's such a fucking solid dude.
It was such a great experience. And then so we're going to go together on the Continental Divide, and it's 2,200 miles over 9 days. It's next July, just to spend that time with your kid.
Man.
Before he goes off to college, it's just awesome. It's just cannot wait. Really excited about that.
That's freaking awesome. Yeah. And how do you think you're giving the lectures for this weekend? It's a first time ever. How what's your opinion? What do you think about the crowd?
I got to tell you. So number one, kudos to Jim for the vision, because he looked at his clients and he figured out that a lot of them are business professionals and business owners, and you got to love it. He puts out a video. I created a video and he distributed that, and we had 20 some odd people sign up. Right? And everybody's like, what took you so long? And what a great idea. But probably like you, I am in awe of the eclectic people that are in that room. We've got miners. We've got some guy that
police officers.
We got a retired police chief. We've got
it's so
Navy
random.
SEAL guy. We've got a Service Pro franchise guy. We got a guy who just sold a bunch of Wendy's. I mean, it's
amazing.
The eclectic people that are in the room, and you heard me say this yesterday, they're going to learn as much from each other around the fire pit and over a beer and at dinner than they are from me during the day. And that's the
well, that's not true. You deliver a great fucking message. You do the way you present it, the way what I like about what you're teaching is it's so modern. And you involve the social media, you involve the digital, but you involve the professional, and I mean, the only thing we're missing now is P&L sheets and how to evaluate company.
That's coming tomorrow,
and I'm sure it is, and we're only halfway through it. Yeah. So the way that you grabbed everything and presented, I think you did an outstanding job, especially because you have such a variety of an audience. Like we said, a miner, a police officer, a guy that sold Wendy's. People from the country. It's a crazy crowd.
I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. So what I was able to do is kind of look at the attendees in advance.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, as I put the content together, what are some of the fundamental challenges they're all going to have? And if you think about it, COVID set a lot of people back. I think we're all sick of this pandemic. We're all ready to kind of, right? By the same token, it has changed a lot of what we do and how we do it, right? And you heard me say this yesterday. I don't know any organization that can cut its way to growth.
Right.
So it's all about how do we identify net new growth opportunities. That's a lot of what we talked about today.
Yeah.
Right? I gave the group, very specific strategies on how to really drive profitable growth in your business. Tomorrow we're going to talk about raising capital. There's, by the way, for your audience, $96 billion with a B of capital sitting on the sidelines looking for good deals.
Imagine.
Looking for businesses that can scale, looking for businesses that are profitable, looking for businesses that have identified a niche that they want to really cater to. And good investors are looking for, not everybody's, Facebooks and Ubers and those guys are anomalies, right? There are a lot of singles and doubles that happen as well as those home runs, right? So we're going to talk about raising capital tomorrow. We're going to talk about really how to innovate not just product or services, but your business model.
Yeah.
Right? Today you saw how many hands went up when I asked how many people subscribe to Amazon Prime, like almost like the whole entire room. And most of us don't think twice about that.
Right.
And it's become
we don't even consider it as a task to do.
Right. And it's become a multi-billion-dollar, revenue source for that company.
Yeah.
So you got to have that mindset. How can I think like Amazon? How can I bring some of those attributes to regardless of what business you're in?
Right.
That recurring revenue gives you visibility into future revenue growth, future cash flow. And so tomorrow we're going to talk a lot about business model innovation. We're going to talk about, today we talked about
execution, which I really liked.
Tomorrow I'm going to talk about 10 stories every business leader should tell now.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the hero's journey, because people may never remember your points. They'll always remember your stories.
Right.
And that's why this podcast, you ask, how did you get into bikes? People remember stories.
Yeah.
And if you want to be remembered and repeated, you've got to build a story that gets reinforced. And people are going to remember that story.
And they could relate to them.
And they're going to repeat it. And they're going to, hey, let me introduce you to Joe. You're not going to believe this. He owns that dealership, or he's doing that thing. And Jim is masterful at this, right? So, between the wine and all the stuff that, he touches. The
environment.
He touches so many different lives. And he sees so many different people in so many different industries. This was just a natural. This was just a great idea to get it started, and I can't wait to see where this goes.
I'm very excited. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your feedback, and I am looking forward to tomorrow, and maybe we'll do a podcast soon, too.
I'd love that. Thanks. Hey, appreciate you having me, and best of luck to you and your efforts.
Thank you so much. I'll do a 3, 2, 1 count.
Yeah.
And once I do that, just start off by... My name is, I'm from, and, whatever you want to fucking say. Whatever.
Got it.
You can jump on and say, fuck you, Whatever you want.
Right,
you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, my name's Scott Davis. I'm actually from Costa Mesa, born and raised up in Northern California, moved to Costa Mesa for college, never left.
Nice.
So run a bathroom remodeling company. Started it senior year of college. Still doing it 30 years later.
Holy shit. How'd you get into motorcycles?
Motorcycles. Actually, if I thought about it, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he said, how do you get into motorcycles? And I said, it was my grandfather. He used to jump me on the back of his motorcycle ever since I can remember, and just do little rides every single time. And every time I came to see him, that's all I wanted to do.
Jump on the back of the bike and go for a ride.
We'd wake up in the
How
morning.
old?
Gosh, since I was probably 6.
Wow.
Yeah. And a
lot of young people. A lot of people got in young.
Yeah. No, I didn't start riding.
Right, but you were still riding in the back of a motorcycle.
Yeah. It was great times. I will never forget that. Those were one of the greatest times,
And then how old were you when you started riding your own bike?
Well, I guess I must have been about 12. And somehow I talked my mom into buying one of those little scooters with the Briggs & Stratton engine. You had to pull it the whole thing on there, and I don't know why she let me buy that thing, because she said, well, you can't ride it around the neighborhood. And I said, oh no, of course I'm not. No, I wouldn't ride it around the neighborhood when you go to work every day.
Yeah,
I rode that thing all over the neighborhood.
You driving the neighbors crazy.
Oh yeah, I love that thing. And then but she let me have the whole thing, and the next thing she let me buy a little RM 80. So I started going out dirt bike riding with older friends who could actually drive when I was about 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. Started not only to learn about motorcycles, but you learn about tequila really quick around the campfire.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that's how I got it.
And then from there on, you never stopped?
No, actually I did stop. I made the mistake when I went to school. So I moved from Northern California to Southern California.
What part of Northern California were you in?
San Jose.
San Jose, nice.
Yeah, so I went
for a wait.
Yeah, so I went down south, UC Irvine, and I don't know how I got this in my head, but I figured, okay, now I'm going to a college. I got to be an adult now.
Yeah.
After I graduated college, even though we started our business there, senior year of college, but I thought, okay, now I got to start doing like adult things. So I picked up golf because someone told me that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
When
you're an adult and finished in university.
Exactly. So I played golf for, 10 plus years.
Did you enjoy it, or you just did it because?
I enjoyed it because I like to win.
Right.
But one of these days I said, screw that. 5 hours of my day. So I went down. I'm not a big sports guy or whatever. I went down on Super Bowl Sunday, about 2:00 to a motorcycle dealership. And I'll never forget this because the game comes on about 3:15.
Right.
They wanted me the hell out of there, and I'm like looking at a dirt bike, and I'm just like, can you do a little bit better on the price on this thing? The guy's like, he wants to watch the Super Bowl. He's like, fine, an extra $500 off. I'm like, wrap it up.
Wow.
So I bought it right before the.
That's some good advice if you're gonna buy a motorcycle from somebody that likes sports. Yeah. Go right before the FIFA World Cup and stuff. Exactly. Hey man, come on, give me a better deal.
So now I have $3 at the time, and I'm like, and I get back into motorcycles. So I got a dirt bike, started riding around and whatever else, and then somehow my dad, who had never ridden motorcycles, ended up buying a GS.
Nice.
Bought it from a dealer at Monterey. Dealer says, hey, if you're going to want to learn how to ride this thing, you got to go down and talk to Jim Hyde. This was like 2006.
Yeah.
And so my dad got hooked up with RawHyde, did a couple training sessions and whatnot.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he shared that with me. And as soon as I found out he bought a GS, boom, I went to a BMW dealership, picked one up right away, and I said, let's ride together.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah. So I stopped being an adult.
And that's when you stopped. That's when you truly lived your life and you were free.
Exactly.
Awesome. And what do you think of this whole weekend?
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. So
you see a lot of stuff you're going to be able to apply to your business?
Absolutely. I was talking to Nora, and I was honest. I'm like, at these things, you don't really learn anything.
Right.
If you do, you got some problems. You don't really learn. You're reminded. You are focused. It's brought to your attention again what your priorities have drifted off course. And so a lot of things just pop
in your face.
Like you're hearing this again. You're hearing this again. You need to focus on this one thing.
Yeah, execution.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. It's not new information. It's just information that needs to be put in your face and reminded, hey, you failed on doing this.
Yeah.
Handle it.
Yeah. I think great speakers, I think great teachers are not about really teaching you something. And obviously, math, science, things you're going to learn something new. But this is life skill stuff.
Absolutely.
This is
life skills, survival skills, all of the above.
Business skills, focus on what's important, take care of your people, prioritize things. None of it's rocket science, but it needs to be, you need to take the time to get yourself in a mental state to receive it.
Yeah.
And then there's always that coming off the mountain experience, then you got to apply it.
Yeah.
And that's where the challenge really comes.
And all bullshit aside, it's information you can learn at a university, but what you're going to pay at a university compared to coming here, what you pay here and get to ride motorcycles after class is fucking priceless.
Nah, at a university, you're going to learn.
There's a balance.
You learn how to learn.
Right.
But once you've actually been beat up in the business world a little bit, you learn what you don't know, or more importantly, you learn what you refuse to apply.
Right.
And as it keeps coming back up, it keeps coming back up, and it keeps coming back up. And then you go out on a weekend like this, and some guy that you've never met, right before you get on motorcycles, reminds you of the stuff that you haven't done again.
Yeah.
And you want to go, okay, I got to do this. 30 years in business, like these things have got to get done. Simple stuff.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm fucking guilty as fuck.
Yeah. No, I tell my guys in my business all the time, simple is not easy. Simple is not easy.
And if it was, everybody else would be doing it.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your feedback, and then we'll be in touch.
Yeah, thanks for making me think of it.
Absolutely.
Thinking of Grandpa.
Absolutely. Thank you, Grandpa.
My name is Robert Glass. I go by Rob.
How we doing, Rob?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Where are you from?
Well, I was raised in the Midwest in Southern Illinois area, but my mail goes to Atlanta now. I lived in Atlanta for 30 years, but my home is actually wherever my motorcycle is.
That's amazing. How long has that been the case?
5, 6 years, 7 years, 6, 7 years, somewhere in there. Yeah, I lose track of time. I'm at that age where I just don't keep track of time anymore.
May I ask how old?
I'm into my 69th year.
Wow, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, man.
You ride like a champ. You ride better than anybody I know.
Well, yeah. I've had a little bit of practice. When you live at RawHyde, which is what I do, and I help coach out here, and I do other things too with Jim.
And I want to hear all that.
Yeah,
I just want to know real quick, how did you get into motorcycles? What was your first motorcycle experience?
My first motorcycle experience was a Pinton 125.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. Well, it's I think it's what Husqvarna eventually turned into.
Yeah, they're amazing.
John Pinton was the man that created the thing. So that was back in the 70s when I was in college. So I had a buddy, a roommate, that was into motorcycles, and so we decided to just go buy bikes, and so we did, and learned the hard way, just by ourselves.
Yeah.
Made all the mistakes that you could make, but I did that just for a couple of years, and then started being an adult at that point. And my next bike was an RT, BMW RT, but that was about 10, 12 years ago.
10, 12 years ago.
10, 12 years ago. So I started riding off-road actually when I turned 62.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So brand new. You just started. And I thought I started late.
No, man. There's hope for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's never too late to start riding off-road.
What made you go that route?
Well, when I had my RT, I kept wanting to take it off-road. I kept trying to, and it didn't work. For those folks that have ridden RTs, they're not good in dirt. So I stopped doing that for a little bit, and then I had my own business, and got at a point in my life where I decided that I wasn't going to do that anymore, and so essentially
What were you doing? Just curiosity.
I had a marketing company where I was working with higher ed. I did communications and marketing strategy for colleges and universities. Did that for about 30 years.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was
and
good.
30 years. That's a
man.
proven track record.
Yeah, so I was a very established person with a normal life, children, wife, nice house in Atlanta, and I decided that it was about time to make a change at that point, or my ex decided that it was about time for us to make a change.
Yeah. So was that the turning point?
Yeah, that was the turning point. That was, it just...
Congratulations, by the way. Congrats.
Oh, man, she's still an awesome person, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Still,
but sometimes, it just...
I think I'm still in love with her, That's the thing. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
But so... we decided to part ways, and I decided at that point that I wanted to divest myself of pretty much everything that I had, and so that's what I did. I left Atlanta, when I was 62, whatever year that was, 7 years ago, and I left with my pickup truck and my motorcycle and some camping gear.
Nice. And came west?
It took 4 months to ride off-road. Went from Atlanta up to Seattle, which is where my older son lives, and I had no schedule, no itinerary, no route. I just wanted to ride off-road as much as I could. So I'd take my bike on my truck, and I'd set up a base camp, and then I'd go explore whatever area I wanted to explore.
Off-grid,
off-grid, yeah, man, just off-grid,
want.
yeah. It was an awesome thing, and it still is. I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And what's your role here at RawHyde?
Well, partnership development is my title, but I pretty much do everything that
everything.
Anything that Jim needs to have done, basically. Yeah.
Which seems like it's everything.
Yeah, man.
There's nothing I haven't seen you not do.
Well, it's a great lifestyle for me.
Yeah.
I'm retired, and he provides me a place to hang out, and where better is there to ride than right here?
Absolutely.
This is like the epicenter of off-road riding, right here.
Absolutely.
I get to live it. I get to ride the...
you poor thing.
Man, it's awful. I'm suffering.
Yeah,
I'm just so
nobody
suffering.
wants that.
So I get to ride all the, all the practice courses that we've got here, the tracks here on the property. We've got 250, 300 acres of tracks. And it's like just going to the gym. Just do that every day for a little bit, and then come in and do my work.
What are the coolest developments you've seen in your 7 years in and out from RawHyde?
Oh, man.
That you're excited. You're like, oh, I love this and I love that.
Well, we've got...
what's the coolest, and then what's the hardest?
Well...
And then that's it. What's the coolest and the hardest thing you guys have done since you've been here for
probably
people?
Probably the coolest and the hardest is we've developed this property out in the Mojave called Zakar.
Zakar, yeah.
Zakar. And Zakar. You can Google that. And it's out near California City. We've got about 100 acres out there. And it's a pretty awesome riding area. If you've not ridden in the Mojave, it's an experience that you need to have.
It's on my checklist.
Oh, man. It's just, it's like, well, the best riding that I've done is probably in Utah. And I've ridden throughout the United States, North America, Mexico, some Canada, South America, South Africa. But the best riding is, I think, Utah.
Yeah,
Utah, and
what's
Southern California.
What is it about Utah, and what's the best?
Man, it's so rustic. It's just so raw. It's just it's beautiful. You can imagine at certain points when you're in Utah that this used to be a seabed, and you can see in the distance that where a shore was at one point, but now it's just dirt and sand and rock.
Yeah, don't they find like seashells and stuff like that?
Oh, you find all kind of
sea
fossils out in
fossils,
Utah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It's just awesome, and so I've just been blessed, Rob, in the fact that I've been able to ride all these great places, all these great, the northern rim of Grand Canyon. It's awesome. Turaweep Overlook. If you haven't done that yet, that's another awesome area. It's near St. George, Utah.
I got to make a bigger checklist.
Man, the John Burr Trail in Boulder, Utah is another one.
Yeah. All good ones.
Oh, they're just, it's what's so awesome at my age is that I keep replaying the rides over and over in my head. And
now you just got a GoPro.
Right.
So now you don't have to do that anymore.
No,
you just got to figure out how to use it.
It's I'm torn about the GoPro because I like to ride without a lot of planning or having to kind of recapture what's been happening. I like to live in the moment. That's one of the things I like most about riding off-road is that you're always in the moment.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about what happened in the past. You're not thinking about the problems that you had yesterday. You're not thinking about, I have to go to the grocery store tomorrow.
You can't.
No. You're thinking about what's happening right now.
You're thinking about the road right in front of you.
Right in front of you.
My experience right now is I had 3 little moments that I was like, what's going on here? And it's because I got distracted.
Right.
It's because I was like, I should be on that side. Wait a minute, I'm not on that side. And, it causes you to slip, or I basically, was able to recover a few times. Yeah. But you have to be present. You have to be in that now moment, because if you're not, you're going to eat shit.
It's a very meditative kind of thing. Right?
Yeah,
it is. It's a great way to train yourself to live at that moment, to appreciate what's happening at that moment.
Yeah, and even if you have an ego, you got to put that to the side.
Oh yeah.
If you have a temper, you got to put that to the side. Yeah. The more frustrated, or if anything you do outside of riding and staying focused on the ride, it's going to go bad.
It's interesting when we have folks come in for training. One of the things that I talk about is just leave your ego behind, because you're going to be challenged. You're going to be frustrated. and you're going to be frightened, at certain points in this training process. And it's a great feeling, to feel that adrenaline that you used to feel when you were a teenager, when you would try something new and you really didn't know how to do it, and you had this feeling in the pit of your stomach that you were just kind of really nervous about.
Yeah.
And then as we become adults, life becomes too calm. It just becomes like
too controlled.
It's just everything is just, mediocre. It's okay. I don't want to push myself. I don't want to press myself into any kind of new situations. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. Riding off-road just diminishes all of that.
It does.
Yeah, man.
Everything you said, I felt that today.
Yeah.
I felt scared, terrified, nervous.
Yeah.
But I knew I just had to stay focused and be present.
So we had some great mud ride portions today.
Yeah.
That one where everybody was going down.
Yeah.
And that was like, as a RawHyde coach, So I'm riding sweep, so I'm the last person, and so I'm thinking in my own mind, all right, so I can't fuck this up. I'm sort of an example. People are going to look at me, and if I can do this, it's like they're going to say, oh, okay, he's a RawHyde coach. He knows how to ride this stuff.
Yeah.
But if I fall down,
that's it.
That's it. It's bad.
If he fell,
if he fell, then I can't do it.
It's over.
But there've been so many times when I have fallen, in that kind of situation, and so you just got to get away. You just got to push the ego away and just do it. But still, there's that anxiety. It's like the performance anxiety.
Yeah.
I've got to perform to a certain degree, but it's only lasts now. It's not like a continual thing like it used to be for me as an adult. It's just a temporary thing. Just like you have to commit, and that's another wonderful thing about riding off road is you have to commit to, and you have to make a decision almost instantaneously, and it's either the right decision or the wrong decision. You'll find out.
End story.
Yeah.
Last thing, Rob, what piece of advice would you offer new riders of any sort? Off road, on road. What?
Well, get training. That's really the I think the secret sauce of being successful in pretty much anything that you do is find a mentor, find somebody that can teach you how to do what you want to do better. There are a lot of great off-road training facilities available, and also on-street track facilities available. I'm prejudiced. I think RawHyde's just awesome, and we always send out a survey, and we ask one of the questions that we always ask: what are the first 3 words that come to mind when you think of your RawHyde weekend experience? And camaraderie is probably the number 1 word. Fun is another, and adventure is another. So when you combine those 3, the camaraderie is something I think a lot of people are surprised about after they've been here, is they don't realize that they're going to bond with these other folks that come in, and it's just like some really. Relationships have developed out of having the RawHyde weekend experience, where people continue to be together, ride together, plan trips together, and they didn't even know each other before they came.
Right. No, the bonding's amazing.
Yeah.
Rob, thank you so much for your time. I'll give you my 3 words. Fucking amazing, man. I'll see you soon, brother.
Thank you, man.
Hi, I'm Roger Bender. I'm from Cedar City, Utah, southern Utah. My reintroduction to motorcycles came about 2012. My kid called me up and says, "Hey, we're going for a ride." I said, "Okay." I haven't ridden a motorcycle in 40 years. He said, "That's okay." I said, "I don't have a motorcycle." He says, "That's okay." So I said, "You're going to have to handle that, because I don't even know what motorcycles are about right now."
Yeah.
So he bought me a 2001 FS 650 GS BMW.
Very nice.
It is a nice little bike. I still have it. And
Very cool.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. And we rode it from Seattle all the way down 101 and the 1 and to a place on just south of San Francisco. Stayed there. It took us about 4 or 5 days to get there. We had a couple of his friends with us. It was a great trip. I always remember it. Then we rode from there over to Utah. Stayed there a couple of days, my home, where I live, and rode through Yosemite Park and whatnot.
Beautiful.
And it really was a great ride. And I got a bunch of crap from my kid. He says we were coming down a hill and it was kind of steep, and I was having some little jitters from it. But he says, there's cars passing a guy on a motorcycle. It's my dad. How's that make me feel?
Oof.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I said, I'll get better. So that was my reintroduction to motorcycles. But I realized the bike was a great bike. I love it.
Nimble.
Yeah, it's nimble, but it's not as friendly as you'd like it to be on the road. And a lot of that came from my inexperience, but I realized I needed a bigger bike, so I bought a 1200 GSA. It was a used one about a year later, and that's what I'm riding today. Been a wonderful experience. Just a little bit about. I realized that I was riding a bike that had a lot of potential, but I had no idea how to make it work.
Yeah.
So I went into, did some research. RawHyde came up. Just looked at some of the videos and some of the things they had to say, and I thought, that looks like the kind of thing that I would like to do. So in 2017, I took my first class here. The Intro to Adventure, whatever it is. Had a great time, met some wonderful people that I still have contact with. Did the ride in the desert. And then later that year, rode the Continental Divide. And Jim led the ride.
Right.
And it became almost an obsession with me after that. So it was something that I really realized, I like this. I'm having a lot of fun. And when you get older, my next birthday, I'll be 72.
Wow.
So
you look great and you ride like a kid.
Well,
in a good way is what I mean. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it's something I do enjoy, and it's been a wonderful experience. But as you get older, it really is hard to come across things that you get excited about.
You truly get excited about.
Truly get excited about. I mean, my grandkids right now, they're getting to the point that they're people.
Right.
And I'm really enjoying them. So I really enjoy any time I spend with them. My kids, the same way.
Yeah.
But this is something that's totally separate. So I have really enjoyed riding these motorcycles and learning how to do that and being able to just to say, hey, if I want to take this road and ride up that hill, I know how to do it.
I can.
Just that confidence. What's that worth? It's
priceless.
Priceless. It's totally priceless. So it's been a fun experience. Came back a year later, did the second step, the next step, and then we rode in Baja.
You did the Baja one?
Yeah, I did the Baja one.
How many miles was that one?
I don't know. It was quite a ways, probably a couple thousand miles. We rode from RawHyde. The scariest part was riding down I-5 and getting through Los Angeles and everything, and then you got into Baja, and it had its ups and downs, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of people on that excursion that I still have contact with and still enjoy talking to. So I hope to do that again. I want to ride the Continental Divide again. That was a great adventure, and it's been a really fun experience. Just learning how to ride motorcycles the proper way.
Right.
big motorcycles.
Big motorcycles, right.
That most people have a problem even
almost 600-pound motorcycles.
Exactly. And then you load them down with all the crap you're going to be carrying, because you're carrying everything on your motorcycle.
Yeah.
When I rode down to Albuquerque, I rode through Utah, and I took some roads through Utah, and they were one of the roads I took. I didn't even know I was riding down it, but it was fairly iconic road off of a trail there. And I realized this bike weighs 600 pounds. I've got about 150, 200 pounds of gear on it, and me. And I'm doing water crossings and riding in sand, and I dump this thing. It's going to be a heck of a time getting it put back, getting it up.
Getting it up, yeah.
But I got fortunate, got through it, and I kind of look back on that and I say, what caused me to do that? It's just
yeah.
It was just the excitement of being, and I was all by myself.
Yeah.
It was just the excitement.
All by yourself.
Yeah, just excitement. Beautiful. Yeah, and it was just the excitement of hey, we're going to go do something fun on motorcycles, and to sum it all up, I would have to say that it has been one of the better experiences of my life, just being able to be associated with RawHyde and to learn what's going on and how to ride a motorcycle. And at best, I'm an advanced beginner, basically. Yeah. So, and I realize that. But, we met some people the last couple of days, met Walt with Street Masters.
Yeah.
So
lots of cool guys.
Yeah.
Everybody is.
Oh, no, everybody I've met here at RawHyde is cool. So I realized, hey, I've got to go take that Street Master course, because that road we took today. Yeah. I got to give myself maybe a D at best for riding it. And I realized I need to. That's an area that I need to learn on.
That's right.
So
that's right. And then last thing, any piece of advice or something you want to shoot out to the public?
It's just a wonderful experience to be able to go out and at any point in your life. I'm a little bit older, so it means a lot to me to be able to do this. But I think if it doesn't matter what your age is, because if you learn this stuff, you learn how to ride a motorcycle and ride it properly. And I'm very biased toward BMWs, but I know there's a lot of other great motorcycles out there.
A lot of them. They're all great in their own way.
They're all great in their own way. And so you learn how to ride these bikes, and it opens up a whole different and new experience for what you can experience. And getting off-road on a motorcycle and really enjoying.
It gives you freedom.
Gives you freedom.
True freedom.
True freedom. I've been on several rides with my sons. It's been a great experience. They're pretty hardcore. So if I can ride with them, I feel I can hang with most people.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful experience. When Grandpa can go and ride,
That's what we say is badass.
Well,
that's super. You're a badass grandpa.
It's my grandson is 26, and he just graduated with a master's in water engineering from the University of Wyoming, and he says that's what he said. He says, "You ride a BMW GSA?" I says, "I do." So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll end it with one more thing. I did an interview with Jim. It was like 2-3 podcasts ago. And he says he had one student that joined the class. And he says, these GSAs, they're like elephants, And Jim's like, we'll change that. At the end of the weekend, he came up to Jim and says, no, they're like little mouses.
Yeah.
They move like little mouse.
Yeah. I've been to different classes, and one of the classes I remember I went on a ride to the CDR, the Continental Divide ride, And most of the people there had gone through the classes and everything. And we were talking before the dinner, or before the ride that night before, and we were all kind of sitting around having a beer or whatever. And I said, remember how you felt when you left the Intro to Adventure class? I said, yeah, you felt like you could tackle the world. Yeah, it's going to be the same thing because you learned how to do it right. And that's how I feel. I feel I can ride it almost anywhere, given a little bit of preparation to make sure I'm got my skills kind of there where they need to be. But it's been a wonderful experience.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, love it.
Thank you. Voy a grabar, voy a contar 3, 2, 1. Cuando pego 1, usted va a decir su nombre, de dónde eres y cómo te metiste en las motos. ¿Bien?
Ok.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿De dónde eres? Si quieres, ¿qué haces? ¿Y cuándo fue la primera vez que montaste una moto? ¿Bien?
Bien.
Ok. 3, 2, 1.
Hola, mi nombre es Rafael Durazo.
Más cerca.
Soy de Sonora, de México, y la primera vez que tuve oportunidad de andar en moto fue en el año de 2004.
¿2004?
Sí, 2004 por un amigo que también andaba en moto y me invita a andar en moto, y desde ahí ya le agarré el cariño.
¿Qué estilo de moto era?
Era enduro.
Enduro,
era una 450 y era pura tierra.
Y a lo máximo le pegaste, ¿no?
A lo máximo, de hecho me costó una placa en el pómulo que traigo.
Qué bien, chico. Y de ese momento adelante fue tu pasión, ¿no?
Desde ese momento supe que me iban a gustar toda la vida. Estuve algunos años sin montar en moto, y hace, ¿qué serán? Otros 4 años, 3 años, regresé. Pero ahora en el doble propósito.
Claro.
Y son totalmente diferentes, se me hacen más seguras y más diversificadas a conocer, ya sea tierra o ya sea carretera.
Qué bien. ¿Y cómo te enteraste de RawHyde?
Por RawHyde me enteré
más cerca, chico.
Por mi amigo Dan Miravent. De hecho, tomó el curso y me invitó en noviembre a tomar el curso de intro. Y me gustó mucho. Y ahora sale el leadership, el programa de leadership, y regresamos.
¿Y cómo te pareció las clases de leadership?
Me pareció muy bien. Me gustó mucho la dinámica de combinar en la mañana curso y en las tardes ir a dar la vuelta, ¿no?
Es un buen balance, ¿no?
Sí, es muy buen balance. Y el contenido del curso como leadership está muy completo.
Correcto.
Me gustó mucho, y me gustó mucho la dinámica de cómo te dan el curso.
Claro.
Te involucran, hay dinámica, hay manera de participar, de exponer, de intercambiar ideas, de conocer gente muy interesante.
Muy interesante. Y el sistema de hacer equipos y cambiar los equipos y seguir aprendiendo de cada uno es muy chévere.
Sí, desde la regla de cada vez que sales a receso, a un break, y regresas, tienes que sentarte en un lugar diferente.
Sí,
y vas
cambiar el puesto del asiento donde sentaste la última vez.
Sí, y vas conociendo.
Qué bien.
Interactuando con gente diferente.
No, perfecto. Y una pregunta más. ¿Cuál es el viaje que has tomado en moto que te encantó? Uno de los mejores rides que has montado.
Uno de los mejores es, sin duda, la Baja.
¿Baja?
He recorrido la Baja.
¿Dónde empezaste y dónde terminaste?
Inicié en Hermosillo, en Sonora.
Ok. Eso del otro lado.
El siguiente punto fue San Diego, y de ahí bajamos hasta Loreto. Regresamos a Santa Rosalía, y Santa Rosalía agarramos ferry a Sonora de regreso. Ese es uno, y otro que hice fue a las Barrancas del Cobre. También muy, muy, muy bonito lugar.
Muy bonito. Y lo último, te prometo. ¿Qué consejo le puedes dar a uno que quiere meterse en las motos o está montando motos pero es muy nuevo? ¿Qué consejo le puedes dar?
Tomar un curso básico nomás para tener esa seguridad. Y el consejo que puedo dar es, si te vas a meter a las motos, que sea con esa seguridad, no entrar titubeando o teniendo esa inseguridad en las motos, porque pues no va bien.
No va bien. Equipo, todo, ¿no?
Sí, equiparte y digo, cumplir. Yo veo siempre tres reglas para mantenerte sano en este tema en este deporte. La primera regla es cuidar tu límite como persona, no exceder el límite de la moto, y el más importante es respetar el entorno donde estés manejando.
Muy bien.
Aún cuando conozcas el entorno, ten respeto, y si no lo conoces, doble respeto.
Muy bien.
¿Sí?
Gracias, hermano. Sería todo.
Muchas gracias a ti.
Dale.
Va.